Amidst the roaring flames consuming the Midgar Royal Spellsword Academy, Nu delivered her report. Standing on a stone balcony, Shadow listened, flanked by Nu and another operative, his back to the chaos he had so masterfully orchestrated. Nu explained that the leaders of the attack had apparently fled after setting the fire. Shadow scoffed at the very idea. Fools, do they really believe they can run away from us? His words were, as always, prophetic. In a narrow alley below, two of the terrorist stragglers found themselves cornered by members of Shadow Garden. Rose Oriana, the student council president, spotted the confrontation from a distance, her voice a panicked cry. "Watch out! They're still here!" Her warning was tragically unnecessary. Before the second word left her mouth, a slime sword had already burst through one terrorist's skull in a fine spray of gore, a testament to Shadow Garden's silent, merciless efficiency. Shadow gave his orders with theatrical brevity. "Take care of things here." Nu acknowledged with a simple yes, as Rose stood between them, utterly bewildered by the display. She could only marvel at the raw, unrefined power. Amazing! He finished him off with a single strike, and that move wasn't from any established fighting style. The masked operative, Nu, turned to her. "Are you injured?" Rose, startled, stammered that she was fine. With a final, almost patronizing compliment, "Good, you've fought well," the masked woman turned and vanished into the smoke, leaving Rose to ponder the identity of these mysterious, lethal saviors. Elsewhere, a crowd of students found their escape route blocked by a massive wooden door and two particularly stubborn terrorists. The students demanded passage, but the guards were resolute, under orders to keep them inside. A kind-hearted girl pleaded with them, pointing out the obvious flaw in their plan. They would burn to death too. The terrorists remained silent, unmoved by her compassion. Their dedication was commendable, if short-lived. A black blade suddenly erupted from the back of one guard's head. Shadow had arrived, his voice dripping with bored annoyance. "You're in the way. Begone." He casually dispatched the second guard, and with a single, effortless push, shattered the heavy door into splinters, clearing the path. The students, shocked and relieved, poured out into the night, chattering about their mysterious savior and the arrival of the knights. In the confusion, Shadow led a dazed Rose away from the scene, melting back into the chaos he commanded. Later, Rose Oriana stood alone in the great hall, a silent monument to the carnage. Bodies of the terrorists littered the floor, dispatched with brutal precision. She looked around at the devastation, her mind racing. They left silently, without a trace. They possess incredible skills, but just who are they? Meanwhile, in the Vice-Principal's office, a far more intimate and bizarre drama was unfolding. A cloaked and masked figure moved through the library, lantern in hand. He stumbled over a pile of books, sending them tumbling to the floor. Annoyed, the figure raised a hand, and the books began to crackle and burn with dark energy, a petty act of pyromania. The masked man stood over the smoldering pile, a picture of quiet menace. A calm voice cut through the silence. "Funny get-up you've got there." A blade was suddenly at the man's throat. "What brings you here dressed like that?" The masked man turned to see Cid Kagenoh, sitting casually in an armchair, reading a book, as if he hadn't just witnessed a man in a dollar store Halloween costume attempt to burn down a library. Cid lowered his practice sword, his expression one of mild curiosity. "Vice-Principal Ruslan?" Ruslan sighed, realizing the jig was up. Cid waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, no need for the weird secrecy. It's obvious from a glance." Ruslan brought a hand to his chin, genuinely curious about what gave him away. Was it his posture? His walk? Deciding it didn't matter, he pulled back his hood, revealing his face. "Whatever gave me away, your keen eyes deserve praise. Cid Kagenoh." Cid's gaze remained fixed on his book, his tone flat. "You're the one behind this incident, then?" He asked why, and Ruslan, seeing only a harmless, bookish boy, decided to indulge him with a classic villain monologue. He spoke of his past glory at the God of War festival, the thrill of reaching the top. Cid recalled hearing about the illness that forced his retirement. "Yes, I was devastated," Ruslan lamented. He recounted his despair, his desperate search for a cure. Then he met Lucretia, Sherry's brilliant mother. He used her research as a pretext to gather ancient artifacts, and finally he found it, the Eye of Avarice. Using this, not only can my illness be cured, I'd have all the fame and riches I desire. But the foolish woman wanted to turn the dangerous artifact over to the country. A grave miscalculation on her part. Ruslan smiled serenely. "So I killed her." He described the act with relish, a methodical dissection, ending with a final blow to the heart. But the research wasn't complete. Fortunately, he had a spare, her lovely, foolish, and utterly oblivious daughter, Sherry. She served his goals perfectly, never suspecting that her beloved adopted father was her mother's murderer. Thanks to them both, the eye was complete. All he needed was a grand stage to gather mana and a convenient scapegoat. Cid finally looked up from his book. "So, all this time you've just been using Sherry and her mom?" Ruslan smiled. "Indeed. Does that make you angry?" Cid paused, closing his eyes as he flipped a page. "I'm not sure." He began to tear a page from his book, launching into a bizarrely philosophical tangent. "I make a point of having a clear distinction between what's important to me and what's not, so I can achieve my goals without losing sight of them." Ruslan watched, bewildered, as Cid continued his speech, flipping through the book and letting the torn pages flutter to the floor. People make friends, fall in love, accumulate baggage. But I'm trying to cut down on these important things. Throw away that. No need for this. He held the tattered remains of the book, his expression suddenly serious. "And as I go about discarding things, I realize what it is I can't let go of." He stood, drawing his sword, the picture of a righteous hero about to deliver justice. "I live my life for the sake of those few things, but even so, even if just a little bit." He leveled a glare at the vice-principal. "You piss me off." Ruslan was silent for a moment, utterly unimpressed. "I see. It's a shame we can't see eye to eye." In a flash, Ruslan's own blade slashed across Cid's chest, sending blood flying. Cid stumbled back, coughing, as Ruslan mocked his naivete. "Did you take me for an infirm old man on his deathbed?" With a final condescending remark, he blasted Cid with a wave of magic. The boy was engulfed in a fiery explosion, seemingly vaporized. "Burned to death without as much as a scream," Ruslan muttered, turning away from the flames. He took a single step. Then he froze. A snap, a presence. Behind him, where the unassuming student had just been obliterated, stood a figure clad in a black coat, wreathed in shadow. Ruslan stumbled back. "Who are you?" The figure's voice was low and resonant. "My name is Shadow, he who lurks in the darkness, to hunt the darkness." Ruslan's mind reeled. The real Shadow. Here. He demanded to know why he was here, but Shadow remained silent, his dark sword held loosely at his side. Ruslan laughed, a frantic, desperate sound. "Let me guess then, you've come here to take the Eye of Avarice from me?" He clutched the artifact. "But you won't get it, oh no, because with this I will be reborn." He clicked the control pendant into the eye, and a massive wave of power erupted, blasting through the room. The artifact settled on his chest, glowing ominously. "Wonderful! My power is back! The illness is fading!" he roared, drunk on the torrent of mana flowing into him. Shadow watched the display, utterly unmoved. Ruslan, now covered in glowing runes, drew his own sword. Time for a real test. He unleashed a volley of magic bullets, which Shadow deflected with casual, scraping parries. Ruslan was impressed. Not many could keep up. He decided to end it, gathering all the stolen mana from the students into one cataclysmic strike. "You can rest in peace in the afterworld, knowing you had the honor of crossing swords with me!" he screamed, bringing his glowing blade down. The building shook from the force of their battle. Deep within the burning academy, Sherry Barnett coughed in the thick smoke, her heart pounding with fear. Her father wasn't among the escapees. "I must save him," she thought, her voice a desperate whisper. She dashed down the collapsing hallway, calling out for him. Back in the office, Ruslan's ultimate attack, a massive blade of pure light, descended. Shadow met it with his own simple slime sword. Ruslan's eyes went wide, his teeth grinding in disbelief. "Impossible! You managed to parry?" Shadow didn't even seem to be trying. He let out a bored sigh. "So, was that all?" He then punched Ruslan squarely in the face. The former champion was sent flying into a bookshelf, which exploded on impact. He struggled to his feet, shaking. "However, you will fall, Shadow." He began to laugh, a wheezing, triumphant sound. He explained his brilliant plan. His men had claimed to be from Shadow Garden. The world would blame them for this atrocity. It doesn't matter how strong you are, when the whole world will be after you to bring you to justice. He cackled, convinced of his victory. There'll be no place to run. He was cut off by the sound of laughter. Shadow was shaking, a hand covering his face. "What's so funny?" Ruslan demanded. Shadow peered through his fingers, his eye gleaming with manic amusement.
Oh, my bad. I found it too hilarious that you think such a trifle would spell our doom. He lowered his hand. We've never walked the path of righteousness to begin with. His other hand gestured dismissively. Nor the path of evil. He spread his arms wide, a grand theatrical invitation. We always have, and forever shall carve our own path. Gather all the sinful acts in the world for us to shoulder. If you can, then be my guest. He smiled, a predator enjoying the final moments with its prey. And shoulder them we will. It changes nothing. We will do what we're meant to do. Ruslan was apoplectic. Your arrogance will be your downfall, Shadow!
Shadow's grin widened. Then come and break through my arrogance. Ruslan charged, swinging his sword with all his might. Their blades met, and Ruslan's glasses cracked from the sheer force of the impact. He grunted, struggling to hold his ground. It was useless. A black tendril of slime shot past his guard, piercing his torso. Then another, and another, until he was impaled from every direction. He let out a final, agonized cry. Shadow leaned in close, his voice a cold whisper, repeating the words Ruslan had spoken of Sherry's mother. From the limbs, slowly towards the internal organs, before finally delivering the final blow to the heart, right? A horrifying realization dawned on Ruslan's face. How do you know about that? Are you... Before he could finish the name, Shadow unleashed a final, devastating blast of energy, obliterating him completely. A single footstep sounded on the floor. Sherry Barnett arrived at the doorway, freezing at the sight of the massive bloodstain decorating the wall where her father had been standing moments before. Her eyes were wide with confusion. Huh? Father? She saw the body on the floor and ran, screaming his name. She collapsed over his remains, her cries of, "Why?" echoing in the ruined office as Shadow watched in silence. Her world shattered. She could only clutch his cloak and weep. Shadow raised a hand to his face, his expression unreadable beneath the hood. This is for the best. He stood over the grieving girl, a final, chilling pronouncement hanging in the air. You don't need to know anything.